Welcome back. This is Matt from Jaggers Brewing Co. I'd like to thank you for coming by, checking us out, and seeing what today's project is. So today I wanted to talk about something that's a little bit different as far as the brewing related stuff goes. Not a particular brew in and itself, but how to serve that. And what I've done here is I've kind of got two examples of what I've done for some competition homebrew setups that I've done. And so one's kind of a failure and the other one's an evolution with like the lessons learned kind of aspect of it. How to take some kegs mobile to some homebrew competitions. So if you follow me on Instagram, the first example is this one here. It's this cheap trash can. We used it during the Raw Ale 2.0 demonstration or video, and it originally, this setup was supposed to be something that was pretty cheap, something that I could, you know, do some spray paint artwork to make it kind of look like a wooden barrel to be able to serve the beer out of. And so I didn't have the top on it while I was serving or anything, so it was just straight like keg and some ice on some similar setups that I had seen other people do at some of these homebrew competitions that I've done. And I mean, it worked pretty well. It held the ice, it kept the beer cool and stuff like that. But what we did was originally I filled it up probably about a quarter of the way or so with ice. We got to the event, I went ahead, put the keg in there, and then topped it off with ice. And then in the back of the truck, my friend and I, we grabbed it, we pulled it down off the tailgate, and then set it down on the ground, gathered up a few things, and then as soon as we picked it up off the ground at the handles right here, they snapped right off. So then we went ahead and picked it up by like the edge here, the outer rim, and tried to move it around, and those snapped. So we ended up basically pushing it along the sidewalk that had like little pebbles in it and stuff. So it was kind of got all scraped up on the bottom and all that. Like I said, I mean, it worked pretty well enough to get the job done, but I knew going forward that I wanted to do something different for this kind of deal. Once the competition was over, we floated the keg essentially in the trash can here. You know, I had to put a couple holes in the bottom of the setup to be able to drain it out and dump out all the ice and all that. So then what I ended up doing is I got this bad boy, and it's a lot thicker walled trash can. It's got its own lid that's integrated onto it and all that. There's a little spider there. So the good thing about this thing is it's heavier duty as far as the plastic goes. We've taken it out to one event so far, and it did really well. It seemed to hold the ice in better, being, you know, thicker walled and being able to have the lid on it. Seemed to seal up pretty good. So it did pretty good with that. Additionally, something that I did when I was playing around with this was I went ahead and drilled a hole in the bottom. I got one of those like little pass-through type connections that screw on the back, and then I was able to take some plumbing and a valve and put it on the back side so that way I can drain it. And then I located that drain in such a place that it's kind of as close to the bottom of the trash can without it being in the way, and it can't break or snap or anything like that. You know, it still has a little bit of a height difference there, but you know, like if you're going to a competition and you're putting these kegs and stuff in there, you know, you want a couple good inches of ice there on the bottom anyways. And so if I drain it, all the water off of it at that point, then you know, I can just easily dump the rest of it out of this, whatever's in there. And so this did really well. I like the size too. I'm able to put both my keg and the CO2 bottle that I have. The CO2 bottle's pretty big for like a 5-gallon keg. You know, I'd be able to probably put 3 kegs and that bottle in here and still remain mobile, have it packed down full of ice. And you know, the wheels on here seem to be pretty sturdy and stuff like that. At the competition that we were at, when I brought this thing out here, we had 2 kegs in there and two bottles of CO2. We were able to move it around a little bit, you know, where we needed to, and stuff like that, with it packed down full of ice without any kind of issue. It didn't seem to really struggle there or anything like that. So speaking of going to these competitions and stuff, you know, the next thing probably for this, an upgrade or something that I would do would be, or that I'm thinking about doing anyways, is maybe to put some tap handles on the side here of it. I think that would be pretty cool, and like that way I don't have to reach in there every time and get a picnic tap out to pour beer. You know, I could hook it up. You know, but that comes with its own challenges and stuff, and so I wanted this to be like a cheap project, and so if I start buying taps and stuff like that, then it goes up in cost. And so part of me wants to you know, upgrade the taps or whatever on the Keezer, and so if I do that, then you know, I've got to find those a home anyways, and so maybe I'll recycle those into this. You know, kind of part of that whole like homesteading, you know, find another use for something aspect. So you know, the way that this setup is right now, it's in the way that my CO2 and all that is I've got the one CO2 bottle, and it's got this one regulator here and one hose for the keg. So I guess if I was to put, you know, 2 other bottles in the, or 2 other kegs in this with the bottle, I probably would have to come out of here and have some more of these little valves to turn the gas on and off independently of each other, you know. But at that point I'm only locked into one serving pressure, you know. So most of the beers in my Keezer right now are running at the same pressure anyway, so it probably won't make too big of a difference. But right now I think I'm going to focus on only having one beer for you know, the next couple times that I try this out, and make sure that I want to go ahead, you know, before I invest the time or whatever in drilling some holes for some taps. So let's go ahead and talk about some more of the other stuff that I've used now twice at these homebrew competitions, and that I've seen people use and bring out, and that I've basically made part of my kit. So we've got the regulator and the valve there. The next part is going to be the liquid line. That's the liquid post, and the picnic tap. So that's how the beer comes out of the keg. This is the gas that goes into the keg to push the beer out. It's not a bad idea to bring some keg lube, you know, to put around the O-rings for both of those fittings, or if you've kind of got a little bit of a leak going on, to, you know, be able to have something to address that. Kind of the next part of that also though would be to have a spare keg with O-rings kit on you while you're out there. You know, it would suck pretty bad to be out there and be leaking beer or you know, gas, and not be able to do anything about it. For those people that were able to see, I am a Pinlock guy. That's just the way that I bought the Keezer that was set up for that. I was able to get some Pinlock kegs for pretty cheap, and we'll take a look at that as I kind of put all this together and kind of demonstrate that. But having the socket and a ratchet for that on hand is pretty handy. to be able to address those posts, you know, just in case you got to do something crazy. Crescent wrench for the fitting for the regulator to the bottle. I always like having a multi-tool on me, no matter where I'm at, either in my truck, in my car, in my backpack, or something like that. You know, being able to have a flat blade screwdriver and a crescent on you, a small knife and small pair of pliers, you know, really handy to be able to have on hand in a situation like this. And then last of all, as far as, you know, just the handy equipment, is some Teflon tape. You know, in case you got to break one of these down or something like that, you've got something at least on hand that you can attempt to repair. And then, of course, your keg of beer. You know, got to have that there for one of these things. So let's show some assembly here real quick on kind of how the setup will be. To note, I'm not going to put it in this thing. I don't really have any ice in here or anything like that, you know, but you'll see how some of this stuff is hooked up here. You'll get the general idea. If you keg anyways, none of this should really be new to you to see. But if you haven't kegged, it's literally just this easy, essentially, for the whole process, minus or after you've already transferred to the keg. So let's get set up here, and we'll do that real quick. So putting it together was pretty easy. As you can see, didn't really take any time. Didn't really run into any kind of issues there either. We didn't need to use any kind of O-rings or anything like that. You did see me apply some keg lube to the fittings and O-rings. I probably use a little bit too much as far as that goes, or more than necessary anyways. But I'd rather, you know, use a little extra and take a chance on, and not take the chance on like ripping an O-ring or something like that that would cause a pretty big leak. So you'll want to purge the air out of your tank, you know, probably at least once, or the keg at least once, you know, when you get to where you're going and kind of get set up, just to, you know, make sure that your regulator's reading right and all that other stuff. The only other tip that I can give is this beer line here. You're going to want to keep in ice, maybe kind of wrap it around the keg, help keep it cold. I just took this thing out of the keezer, so it's pretty cold. And with this picnic tap, we now have beer. A little foamy. Let's try that again. Alright, so as that first pour demonstrated, that's probably a prime reason why you want to make sure that you go ahead and flush the line, prime the line, prime your keg and all that, make sure that your carbonation gets squared out. But let's try this again here. Wow, we're still a little overcarbonated. I need to check what's going on here. So in my excitement of pretending like I know what I'm doing here, looks like I just ran that PSI up originally and did not purge anything, so my reading is off. So let's try to get this squared away here real quick. So you want to purge from the gas side. Alright, so we're starting back off at 0. And we're going to run it up to about 7, 8, where I thought I originally set it, but it was at 12, so okay. Alright, so after seeing that the pressure was pretty high at like 12 psi, because I didn't pay attention, didn't purge the keg, didn't purge the line, and he just went straight into a pour. Let's see how this does now that I've adjusted it down. I've got it down to, looks like about 4 or 5 psi. That's a little bit better. Still kind of foamed up a little bit. This was kind of a highly carbonated beer that I did to begin with, and I know we're kind of getting towards the end of the keg. Also, you know, I kind of wonder if the temperature difference of bringing it out of the keezer and kind of having it out here today, not having this in ice, is kind of making it foam up. But I kind of think it's a combination of all those things there. You know, I've never really had that problem out of the 3 times I've been to a homebrew competition with a keg. This has always been in the ice, as long with the keg and the CO2 bottle. But as you can see, though, I got a gorgeous Lithuanian farmhouse there, one of my all-time favorite beers that I've brewed. So with all that being said, you know, tell me about your homebrew mobile setup. Have you ever been to any of these type of competitions where they allow homebrew, you know, like People's Choice type awards or anything like that? They're a lot of fun to do. I plan on trying to do a few more this year. We did the Italian Pilsner last with this new setup and stuff. Seemed to really work great. Do you have any tips or anything like that that you suggest that maybe I carry around in kind of the bag of preparedness for this type of thing, or any suggestions that you can think of to do to my setup here? I'd be interested to find out and see what you guys think. So until next time, guys, cheers.